right. Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Rhody Rumble podcast. Today I'm joined by the head coach of the University of Rhode Island Rams women's basketball program, Tammi Reiss. Coach, thank you so much again for taking the time today, just ahead of the season. I'm glad we're finally able to connect again. How are you?
First of all, thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for having me on. I'm awesome. It's back to the grind, the busy season of the year, but it's the best time of the year. So, the countdown to the first game, and just excited to get it started, see what we've got. So, I can't complain. I'm living my dream.
Yeah, from now to March, we just don't sleep.
No.
That's it until April. So it is the best time of year, and obviously a lot to look forward to for this program this year, and we'll get into some more of that. But a question that I love to start with, for all the guests that I've had on the show, it's just, what is your why, or what motivates you?
Just my passion for basketball. I love it. I've wanted to try a lot of different things throughout my life, especially when you're known for something. Basketball dominated my youth, my life, my college career. I got away from it for a while, but every time I left it, it called me back. And so when you have a passion for something and you love it, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm motivated by, number one, my love of the game, wanting to give back to the game. Number two, my competitive nature. It's as you age, there's nothing gets your juices fired up again, flowing, than competition. And when you get older, as an athlete, it's done. But you still have that blood in you, and coaching is the next best thing. I live vicariously through my kids, I say all the time, but competitive. I'm extremely competitive.
Yeah.
And that's what the game gives me, my love of it. And then it quenches that fire I have to compete.
I feel like, without sports and just that competitive nature, we would be lost, just in society. I definitely have a lot of that as well. And more so on the career side, just being passionate about getting into this industry and doing different things. And I just love, you talked about it, your passion, you see it on the court side, whether you're down big in a game or whether you're up big in a game, it doesn't matter. You need to be passionate about it, and need to keep your players, locked in throughout. So I just love to see that. And first off, just congratulations on all the success so far that you've had as a head coach. As of today, the program entering preseason poll at number 3, just coming off an amazing run last year, which, we're going to get into later. Can you just share so far, what the most rewarding part of being the head coach here at URI?
The fact that it's funny, at times I feel like a head coach, at times I don't. I think the only thing that differentiates me from being an assistant, I haven't changed much, is I have to make decisions. I have to answer 1,000 questions a day. That's the difference, is you have to have an answer and a decision made, other than being an assistant coach. But I try not to lose my characteristics of, relationshiping with kids, not losing that, where you get this title and you become something else. I'm so not that, it's just easy for me. I think this 4th year, I've just kind of found my identity as a coach. You say you're going to be one way, and I think I've stolen from a bunch of my, I say idols, mentors, favorite coaches in the world, in any sport, not just basketball. And I've tried different things, different philosophies, and I finally feel like I found my center. I finally feel like I know who I am now as a coach. When you're a first-time head coach, it's a bit overwhelming. It's a little bit scary. It's, am I good enough? It's all these things. And now I finally have my confidence. I finally have, just that feeling of I'm centered. I know who I am now. And it's a very comfortable feeling. And it's not a better feeling than knowing I'm going to do it here for the next 10 years. That makes it even better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, we're going to get more into that later, but just being comfortable in your own, arena, in your own community. And you really made Rhode Island your own community and made it really your home. Kind of leading me into my next question, backtracking just a little bit, just to get into like your background before jumping in this season. You're born and raised in New York, like myself. Can you just talk about how you got into basketball? You talk about having this passion. Did you have a mentor or someone at a young age who might have influenced you?
I did. My sixth grade teacher, his name's Paul Talowski. We called him Mr. T. He's like 6'6". He played college ball and semi-pro ball. And he saw me on the playground in the fifth grade and just kind of knew I was going to be a really good athlete. I was a runner at the time. I think by seventh grade, I was a state champion in cross country. And I got him in the sixth grade year. And I just said, will you teach me the game? And he locked my ball in his closet. I'll never forget this. Took my ball out of my hand, threw it in the closet and said, when you get straight A's on your first marking semester, I'll teach you as much as you want. He goes, you're underachieving. I was like a B plus A, it was like,
Yeah.
it's good enough, And then sure enough, from that day forward, I never got a B on another report card and I became valedictorian. And from that day forward, he taught me every day after school for hours, weekends, hours. WNBA, he was my trainer. So I owed my whole career to my sixth grade teacher. Not only did he teach me basketball, but he taught me how to apply myself in the classroom and everything I did. He kind of fired that competitive nature in me. And that, I think that's, besides my parents, that's where it came from. So I credit Mr. T and Magic Johnson, my all-time favorite idol.
Nice. Yeah, that's just so inspiring to hear that, it all starts from somewhere, but for a teacher to really, not only just prioritize academics, which is the reason why they are a teacher, but also to be willing to teach you, after hours or after school about something that, they're passionate about and sort of pass on that legacy. And that's a lot about what being a coach is, passing on that legacy and educating your students or your, team for that matter. So that's really inspiring to hear that, and that you had a teacher or role model in your life. And now that you can be that role model for a lot of your players as well. So it's kind of cool how it comes full circle.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone, and all my teachers in my high school, even in my area, they all were like that, whether it was soccer, cross country, it didn't matter. And I come from a small town, Rhode Island's this small state. Everyone knows everybody. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You turn around, you're like, yeah, I'm related to that person, that person. I'm like, I like little. I like small. And my high school was K through 12. We had like 50 in our graduating class. And so everyone looked out for you, everybody. And they went the extra mile for you. And I like that community. I like that family atmosphere. And, that's what we're trying to build here at Rhody, not just with our team, but the whole athletic department, but with our fans, making them a part of our family, a part of this experience. And that's really, really important to me, and relationships and just that feeling. And that's why I think I love Rhode Island so much. It reminds me a lot of where I grew up and the relationships we have. It's the same way in the athletic department here. I have an AD that feels like my AD in high school. Like it's just that kind of community and bond that I love about Rhode Island. I do.
Yeah. Being around a lot of the athletic administrators and just around, obviously, a modern athlete, but being around a lot of people in athletics, you really do feel like, there is a family, there is that family, community, that culture really here at URI. And it's great to see, what you and Coach Miller are now doing with the basketball programs and really just establishing that from the go. So I'm excited, for this season on both men's and women's side. But moving along into your college career, from 89 to 92, you started at Virginia, coached by legend Debbie Ryan. During that time, you helped lead the team to 3 straight NCAA Final Four appearances, while being named to the ACC Women's Championship All-Tournament squad twice. Also scoring 1,842 points, 437 free throws, scoring 139 three-point shots, while also making 41% of your shots from the three-point line. Just to read off a couple of stats there. Can you just briefly talk about, your college experience at UVA and also just what the University of Virginia means to you?
I bleed Wahoo. Those 4 years there, I had probably the best 4 years of my life, besides my senior year in high school. It was just incredible people, not just on the court. We were very successful, but the bonds we shared, the good times we had, I remember them all. They were like yesterday. I just had the best college experience. And I'm so grateful for Debbie for allowing us to have that balance, the fun we had while we played. It was an amazing time. And I really say this all the time. I love my alma mater and I loved my 4 years there. I just could never see myself going back. Every time I turned around, even when we went there to play last year, I'd look and I'd expect to see Dawn coming running through the tunnel, or Debbie would, it just was so different. And no experience I could ever get now there could ever compare to the 4 years I had. And I wouldn't want to go back.
Yeah.
With new people. And it's hard to explain. I can't, but my 4 years there were that special to me. And I had a blast, and I mean it. Dawn Staley, I can name legends that I played with.
Yeah.
Football team was ranked #1 my freshman year. They're on ESPN 30 for 30 right now. Who's #1 in the ACC? Georgia Tech, and it was Virginia. It was crazy good sports there. Men's soccer won the national championship. Our men's basketball team was coached by legendary coach Terry Holland. It just was the best of times. And I can't say anything other than for the best years of my life. And I mean it. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget my experiences. It's probably the reason I coach today.
That's really another inspiring point right there. And just, you talk about not only just, your team and the program that you were a part of, but just athletics in general during, that short time period, because college is so short. I feel like it's all about timing. Obviously programs are going to be good, programs are going to be bad at times, but you really, you were there during some of the best years that program has ever seen. And then sticking on timing, following UVA, you're getting into coaching a little bit, but however, the WNBA is starting to form at this time, and you're drafted in the first round by the Utah Stars. And I believe that was the first year that there was the draft. So you were the 5th player to ever be drafted into the WNBA, which again, impeccable timing. If you could just share a little bit about, that experience as well, being drafted and also playing at the professional level.
Well, it was strange because I graduated 5 years prior to that. So I graduated in 92. The leagues formulated in 97. I was in LA acting. I was living in LA. I was acting, and I got a call from Val Ackerman, who went to UVA, and she did the Olympic team, the tour, and that. And then David Stern and her formulate the WNBA. So she calls me and says, "Hey, Tammi, I really want you to come to the combine and try out for the WNBA." And I'm like, "Val, I'm in LA. When is it? I haven't played competitive basketball for 5 years.
Right.
I've been acting. I've coached for 2 years and I've been acting." She said, "You got 6 months to train." So I pack my car up in LA. I drive the northern route through Colorado, all the way Ohio, drive into New York, train with Mr. T 2-a-days, go down to Orlando 6 months later, have a great 4-day combine. And the Utah Stars select me in the first draft, 5th pick, first round. And I remember being in the green room, because we're in the green room. Everyone else is at the studios in New Jersey, in Secaucus. My parents are in the audience, and they were like, "Tammi, we're going to invite you to be at the draft." So I'm like, "Oh, hopefully that means I'm getting drafted, right?" So we're in the green room, and everyone's going, "I hope I go to LA. I hope I go to New York. I hope I go to," and everyone's going, "God, I hope Utah doesn't draft me." And everyone's going, "Where the heck is Utah anyway?" So, people didn't know, the higher you get drafted, most people didn't know this, the more money you made. Right. And there was a lot of different rounds because they had to fill all the teams.
Sure.
So, they're sitting there, and Tina Thompson goes first, and here goes Sue Wicks, and here goes, and then all of a sudden they say, and with the 5th pick, the Utah Stars select. And I think I was talking, and all of a sudden I hear my name, and they're like laughing at me. "You're going to Utah. Ha ha." And me, I don't care. I didn't even know where Utah was though. I'm like, "Hey, I don't care. I'm going to make the most money. I'm in the first round." Those people that were laughing at me ended up going like the 8th round. They were making like $10,000 a season. So sure. In the end, I was like, I got the last laugh, and I ended up loving Utah, and I mean, loving it. At first it was tough because it was very, religious, homogeneous, not much diversity,
Sure.
But great people, and an outdoor state, and skiing, hiking, wakeboarding. It was awesome. And I ended up staying there 12 years, even after I was done playing.
Yeah.
Coached there, owned businesses there, and really fell in love with Utah. And I didn't think I would, but I did. I became, a 12-year resident. So that kind of was my playing path. And then I ended in Utah, taking a year off after I retired, coached there. And then we ended to get moved to San Antonio. So I had to
Right.
go down there for a summer. But again, probably a surreal moment hearing your name drafted. How many people can say I'm live on draft day and I hear my name drafted? Not it,
Yeah.
and walking on with the jersey. And it's something that and I had it on my goal list as a kid. Mr. T
Yeah.
made me do a goal list. I had like 100 things on it, and being drafted in the NBA. There was no WNBA. So I said NBA.
Yeah.
But I checked that one off the box because that came to fruition and accomplished that goal. And it was a surreal moment because I never thought in a million years it would happen.
Yeah. And I feel like watching the NBA draft and now WNBA draft, growing up, everyone has that dream, like, I'm going to be up there someday. And like to actually fulfill that, to actually walk across that stage and shake the commissioner's hand, I can't imagine. And then also what you talked about is just, you hear about having career changes and people telling stories about that, but being in LA, having an acting career, thinking that you're going to get into acting and then finding out you're going to go back to playing the game that you love so much, your passion. It's crazy to hear that, honestly, and congratulations on, it was a short professional career, but it seems like, you made, the most of your time out in Utah. And it's funny because you talk about, not thinking you're going to like a certain place and, kind of adjusting and being uncomfortable in order to get comfortable. And it's kind of similar to Rhode Island. You're not really sure coming to Rhode Island what it's like. It's the smallest state, but, based off of what you've said and what you've talked to me about, it seems like you've really come to love Rhode Island and what you were saying earlier, what you alluded to. So it's just kind of funny how sports, works like that, how you can move to so many different places and how you kind of have to be flexible and you'll actually really get to see, the world. And you'll get to see different places that you didn't think you'd, fit in and that you'd like. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, one of my philosophies, and I tell the girls this all the time is, wherever you are, you make your own happiness. You really do. You go overseas and you can be miserable. They don't speak the language. You don't like the food. You hide in your apartment. You're miserable. You're depressed. And that's how, instead of, God, I'm in the new city. Let me enjoy. I'm going to see all the sights. I'm going to embrace where you are. You create your own happiness. And I truly believe this. If that's your mindset of, I hate it, and this is a glass half empty, then you're going to be miserable and you're not giving anything a chance. And there's great people everywhere. There's great things about every state, every country. And so I say, explore, because life goes by way too fast. And you're going to say, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and you didn't. And, do everything you possibly can, but definitely, you create your own happiness and your own memories. And I believe that. And so I try to keep an open mind as I got older and just explore and have fun doing it. And so that's kind of one of my little life-isms that I've really tried to abide by and live my life by.
Yeah, that's just, that's a great mentality to carry with you, throughout life. We talk about sports and, having to go different places. You don't know if you're going to get traded. You don't know, which schools are going to offer you a scholarship, and then coaching, which leads me to my next question. You make a couple of stops as an assistant coach, San Diego State, Cal State Fullerton, most recently Syracuse. And now really like transitioning into URI. I spoke with Thor Bjorn, our athletic director, a while back. He told me a story about, you during your interview, and that you weren't really comfortable or you weren't really ready to be a head coach, but you said until you got this job at URI. And you took a chance on Rhode Island, as we were talking about, a new place, a new city. And we've seen the success that has come out of it. Can you just talk a little bit more about how you knew you were ready for Rhode Island and, a new chapter in your life?
Well, I think, I came a point in my life as I got older in my career. I love being an assistant coach. I did, because You spend all the time on the floor with the kids, your relationship, your recruiting. You don't have the business side of coaching, budgets, marketing, fundraising, things that take you away from the things you do as an assistant. Not many people know this. I have to do a lot of business things that have nothing really to do with on-court basketball. And so as an assistant, you do a lot of those things. And I loved it. I could live on the court with my players, in the weight room, hanging out with them, that I don't get that luxury as much anymore as a head coach. And so I had to make a decision. I'm getting later in my years and I'm a perfectionist. So I'd always say, I'm not ready. Special situations, I'm not ready. Offensive schemes, I'm not ready. So it's like having a baby. You're never ready. Just have a baby because you're never going to be ready. And so I talked to a couple of my friends and they're like, listen, Tammi, Dawn Staley being one of them, I wasn't ready and look at me. I didn't even want to coach. But it's something in you, as competitive as we are, and as much as we love basketball, you're going to be great at it. Just like you were as a player. And so the more I talk to people, I got the sense of, as long as you want it, and I wanted it. And so I think Rhode Island took a chance on me, other way around. But for whatever reason they did. And, it was my first year was really implementing systems and how I wanted to do things, figuring things out, what my system is, how I want to run the program, what's my culture. There's a million things you have to do from an operations standpoint that would consume my days from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m, nonstop, writing up my procedures for this, for that, not just basketball, but how you're running your office, your business. This is a business.
Right.
And so all the, job descriptions and hiring, and it was like that first year was a whirlwind. It really was. But I knew I was ready when I got in it. At first, I missed Syracuse. I missed my home, my friends. I mean, I had great friends there. I loved that university, the people I worked with, but it took me a little bit to adjust. And then after probably the move was done, it's such a whirlwind as a coach. You uproot your whole life, your family, your dogs, as you're working, you're moving into your house, it's like chaos. It's like the ultimate chaos. You're still recruiting.
Yeah.
It is like a whirlwind. And that first couple months is tough. It really is. Especially for someone who's OCD and loves to settle one thing before she starts another project.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm the same way.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And it was like overwhelming at first, but I knew I was ready. Once we got into it that first season and I was all in, I love this. Then it got very smooth. By the second year, I felt really good. We had most of our kids we recruited in, and then by last year, we kind of hit our stride. We hit a rhythm as a coaching staff, found our niche, found our place, and, experimented with certain things still. But this year, I feel like I told you, I feel very just settled, and I just moved again. So this past couple months has been a whirlwind as well. But, it's now that I knew I was here for a long term, I wanted to find the perfect house that fit me so I can settle and just be. And so we did that. And, I just feel, like I said, really, really comfortable with my decision of coming here. And then it wasn't as hard a decision as people think it was to want to go somewhere else. Especially from someone, I'm a relationship driven person. No one could pry me away from Virginia as a player, even when they were recruiting me. When I fell in love with there, I was done. It was over.
Right.
It wasn't even a close second to anyone that was in the race with them. And I knew it. And I'm just a very sentimental and attached. And once I love a place, it's really difficult for me to leave. Once I have a favorite something, it's really difficult for me to switch it.
Sure.
It's if you go rapid fire and you do, who's your favorite this, da, 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 it's like easy peasy, like,
Yeah.
because I'm just that person. So I love Rhode Island. I really do. Everything about it.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I was talking with Archie about this on another episode, but coaching, it's a 24/7, 365 job. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I'm still learning talking to coaches like yourself. I mean, a lot of people just assume that it's just the season, it's calling plays, going to practice. It's a lot more, especially at the collegiate level when you talk about recruiting, when you talk about, I mean, the whole part of getting, fans to the Ryan Center, getting people to get season tickets to invest in the program, day of giving. There's a lot that goes into, coaching. So I credit you, and I credit, head coaches and really just even any coach at the collegiate level and in general, because it seems like it's just go, 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 and there is no stopping. And you talk about, before we started recording, you're up at 5, 6 a.m. for practice, and then some days 7, 6, 7 o'clock, you got a game, you got to play. So I definitely credit you and the program and the other coaches on your staff as well for, having that passion and having that energy to, make the fans, or at least have the fans walk away with a smile, and try and get yourself into the win column. It's really impressive what coaches do. And you talk a lot about your first year, which I have a question on, and really, you've been here as long as I have. I'm a senior, so I'm entering, as you're entering your fourth season, I'm here in my fourth year. But what was it like, to come in the fall of 2019? I can't imagine that season, obviously COVID interrupting the outcome, but also, like you kind of alluded to, you're trying to build a culture. You want to change the narrative around this program on campus, and you want to bring this passion, this winning mentality. So what was that like, in your first season?
It was tough because, not that, the kids were, great. They're good kids, but when you have a certain culture in mind, and those kids have been raised in a different culture, allowed to do things that you're not going to do in my culture, or behaviors. And once you have those habits, it is very hard to change a habit. People say it takes
Yeah.
21 days. No, it takes longer than that, to really make it a habit. And so to get a team, someone else recruited, that for years have lived a certain way and allowed to be that way, good, bad, or indifferent. It was hard now for me to instill, and I was very adamant. So my first year, I was a tough coach. Like, there was no playing around. It was my way or the highway, because I had to set the tone. And, they got away with nothing, because it would ruin your whole culture. So it was really instilling the culture, the foundation, that first year. And being able to implement a system without your kids, just get them to play hard and give everything they have. You don't have pieces, you're missing things. So it was a tough year, but it was probably one of the best years of my life from a coaching standpoint. It taught me the most. I learned the most that year. And, again, perseverance, you learn how to deal with adversity, losses. So for me, I get more when we lose, and learn more than I do when I win. And I truly believe that. Last year, as successful as we were, I don't, people bring that up. You had the most wins. Yeah, that's great and all, but what I remember is the last 3 losses of the season. That's what I remember, and it stays with me, and I can't fake that. The team we had an unbelievable season. We did. It was record breaking, but we could have been done better. And we didn't. And for me, it was the why constantly. God, what did we do? Analyze, reassess. And, the losses motivate me more than the wins. The wins,
Right.
sometimes you just rest on your line, and it feels good. Not that I didn't want to enjoy last season, but I'm so competitive that those last 3 games just eat at me. They do, because that wasn't our team. The whole year you saw a team that you didn't see those last 3 games. Now, My job as the head coach is to figure out why, so it doesn't happen again. And that's when I was most disappointed, and that's what stuck with me all off season. And I can't shake it. And
Yeah.
so, and I'm 100% honest. I do not fake the funk, not for fans, not for my boss, not for anyone. When you hear me talk, it really is how I feel. And that's how I feel is I love the kids we had last year. I love them. And they're having great pro careers right now. But I'm just sorry that they couldn't go out with a bigger bang and end on a little bit more of a positive note. That's what eats at me. It just does.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about, what I was going to allude to next, last season. Really, it's the thing that I like about you the most as a coach is that, like you said, you're honest. If there's something that upsets you or upsets, the way that a season went or a game went, I've sat through press conferences, you pretty much say, what went wrong. There's no going around it. There's no covering it up. It's no, we have to get better. It's here's what went wrong. And, here's what I have to figure out. And I think more coaches need to be like that. They need to be honest. And I think, as a head coach, that's something you do a very good job of. As you alluded to before, leading the Rams to a program best 22 wins. This was the second ever postseason appearance in program history. So still a huge accomplishment last season. However, we talk about those losses. So early exit, first round loss, in the A10, first round loss in the WNIT. You guys come in with a chip on your shoulder, unfinished business this season. You sort of answered this question already, but what is the biggest lesson you've learned just from, not even just those losses, but the season in general? And then when reflecting on the season now, what is, the motive heading into this season?
The biggest thing we've learned as a coaching staff, and I really have taken to heart, was because we knew what we had last year, Emmanuel Tahan and MP, and adding Desi Elmore. We had a veteran in Marta, and we had Dolly. So adding Shan at the point guard position, we knew we had a team that could compete for a championship. And so I thought, this is what's going through my head. I'm motivated by, I love putting an end goal there. I'm going after that. That's just who I am, right? Yeah. So I thought, none of these kids have ever won a championship at the collegiate level, ever. None of them. And so I'm going to put that carrot out there that this is what we're working for. This is why we do what we do every day. And we're good enough. And I wanted them to believe that, because they've never won. So they don't know that yet, what that feeling feels like. They don't know how to go towards something or feel the confetti come down on your head. So I thought, we're going to focus on that. And I asked them, we do our goal sheets, individual and team. They all said A10 championship, regular season and or tournament. So we just, everything became consumed about winning that A10 championship. Everything.
Yeah. Even
from my perspective, should I have benched some kids for not sprinting the floor, for talking back, for being a bad teammate? There's some things that happened, and I didn't. And I didn't where any other year I would have, because I didn't want to sacrifice a loss. Any other year I did. I actually benched some kids one year. We had like 6 kids to play against St. Bonnie's one year because I had to suspend some kids for off the court behavior. And setting that culture, that foundation. Right. And we lost. We had 6 kids. I had my 4-player playing point guard. But I didn't care because I'm sending a message. Well, somewhere within the season, even our players, I'm taking the day off. We won yesterday. I don't feel good. And suddenly it didn't become about, in the moment, getting better as a team, fighting together, strong culture. We had these little cracks in our foundation. And then, when we lost at Dayton, I'll never forget going in the locker room. You would have thought that was it. That was our last game of the season. It was over. We're losers. It's done. We didn't do what we said we we're going to do. And I'm like, guys, we got an A10 championship. And I truly think after that, then we had some cracks. They opened up even more and we lost them. Yeah. And I thought, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not making this thing so much bigger they put everything they were into winning an A10 championship, that when it didn't happen, it was like devastation. And then we have more to play, and we didn't. And
Yeah.
so I learned that I'll never sacrifice anything for our foundation or our culture of who we are, ever again. Never for a win, not even for a championship. I won't do it. I remember I'm watching Kentucky play. Matthew Mitchell is the head coach, and they're in maybe it was the NCAA tournament. I can't remember if it's 32 or 16, Sweet 16. I think it might have been 32. Girl missed curfew, 5 minutes late. Their star. He benched her. He didn't just bench her, you're not starting.
Yeah.
He didn't just bench her for the first half. He benched her. National TV, the camera's on her, they keep telling the story, they lose the game. And he said, there is no other decision. That's our culture here.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's for a championship or we're playing the last place team. She wasn't going to play. That's my rule. And he didn't sacrifice. And that came to me. And I kept thinking about that. The guts that it took for Matthew to do that.
Yeah.
I respect that. Gino, that's something Gino would do. And, I look back and I said, I caved a little bit. And that could be an experience of, sacrificing because you wanted that so bad. And I said, I'm never going to do that again, ever, ever. And I told my team this year, and I tell my team everything. They know. I apologize to them for, letting something overtake our culture. And, I think ultimately it became a little bit of our demise. And so that'll never happen again. And I promised my team that. I said, I made a mistake once. Don't you worry. I learned from it. And if you can't be honest with your team or your fans or anybody, that's how you grow.
Right.
We make a lot of mistakes as coaches, or we think they're mistakes. Some are mistakes, some aren't. But, I'm a growth type person. And if you're not real and honest, if you bullshit all the time, my team won't respect me. So anytime I walk in a press conference, you're going to hear the same thing I say in my locker room. The only thing you'll never hear me do is throw my team under the bus. I take responsibility for their performance, whether we didn't prepare them correctly, whether we made something affected them. That's my job as a leader, is to get them to play and play hard. And when they don't, usually you got to self-examine, and you will never hear me throw my team under the bus. There's probably always a reason it ends up being my fault. And, I've always had honest coaches that have never lied to me. And I respect them for that. And I've always said, that's who I want to be.
Sure.
That's who I want to be. I want to be completely transparent, that when people meet me, this is what you get. I'm not anything else but that. And I definitely want my team to realize that, so they can be transparent and honest with me. And we have that great relationship. Coach isn't a phony. Coach isn't a BS artist. That's important to me. And that's the biggest thing. I think the hardest job about coaching, you'll ask a coach this they'll have a million answers. But for me, it's taking care of 15 young women away from their families and setting an example every day and trying to give them the best student athlete experience they can get while fulfilling their hopes and dreams. As a coach, that's a lot. Right. Teachers do it every day. And so for me, that's the hardest part, is taking care of these 15 young women and making sure that I get them where they need to be in life.
Sure.
And for me, that's probably the hardest part about coaching, is the worry of, did I let one of them down? Didn't do what I say I was going to do? Didn't get them where they needed to be? To me, that's my biggest worry, is their welfare and their experience.
You talk about so many different qualities there, and, not only just being a great coach, but also a great leader. You talk about, honesty, and you talk about building culture and, boosting morale. So many different things that you touch on, about being a coach and really just being a good leader. And again, that's just something that the fans all see it, the media sees it, and I'm sure your players see it too, that, you're going to be honest 100% of the time, whether you're in the press room or whether you're in the locker room, whether you're on the court, you're going to be honest. And that's, really what a coach has to be. They have to take responsibility. And I really do believe that is a big reason or a big factor. Obviously, there's the players on the court, but the coaching staff and what they're building and what their mentality or their message is, not only to the players, but really to the university. I think that's just a big part to success that you guys have had in the last few seasons. So again, just congratulations on all that success. We all see it. And it's a big reason as to why we're here and why you have the 10-year contract extension and why we're staying in Rhode Island, and the future of Rhody basketball is bright, at least for, the next 10 plus years. So I mean, definitely a lot of great qualities that you mentioned there. And it all just goes back again, full circle, to having this passion and just, passing it on to other people, letting other people, take away something from your style, like how you took away from your coaches. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Again, we pay it forward, and people, women, especially women that we grew up in this game. We need more women involved in our game to give back, especially unbelievable players. I look at people retiring from the game right now, and I hope Sue Bird goes into coaching.
Yeah.
I hope, Diana Taurasi ends up going to coaching, or in some way, shape, or form being involved in women's athletics, because, again, they have so much knowledge to give our youth, and they did it the right way. And we need more of that in all our sports, women's sports in general, and great women role models. Don't get me wrong. I love men, and I think men make unbelievable coaches, but, I just see in our game that there's a lot of great women that have so much more to give back, and help women in our game. And I just wish there were more former players coming back and coaching, because it's different when you go through the experience as a student athlete and you're a woman. It's a different experience than a man can ever give you. I feel, although I loved playing for men's coaches, as you see, Mr. T, who was the boys coach, he was my trainer. So I've always been coached by men in high school. But I do, it's to watch some of these unbelievable players like Dawn Staley become just legendary coaches. Becky Hammond, who never got a shot in the NBA and wins a championship her first year in the WNBA.
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys waiting for? Your loss, seriously. Sure. But that inspires me, and hopefully all of these women coaches will inspire the next generation of players to want to come back and want to coach.
That's really great. Moving along, to this upcoming season, just a few more questions. The team has a lot of new faces this season, a lot of newcomers by way of, the transfer portal, some coming from inside the league or inside the conference, Tenna, Madison, Emma, and some true freshmen that you've recruited. So, how do you plan on establishing this culture with them, obviously entering a new program, and really, I guess, just this chemistry early, both on and off the court?
Well, I think we've been very fortunate, and we've recruited to our culture. These kids are really, really good kids. They don't ever do anything wrong, other than make some mistakes on the basketball court. They're incredible culture kids, and they're all in. They bought in to everything we ask them to do. They do. It's off the court, perfection. In the classroom, they work. I don't ever get bad reports on these kids. And so first and foremost, that's a credit to the staff on the type of kids we recruit. And this year, they're exceptional. So they're all in, they're bought in, they show up every day with a work ethic and a passion. They all want to be pros, and they all want to get better. And so when you have that, like, a lot of times we're like, you're done, get out of the gym, no more individual development. We do a lot of it. Stop, you go rest. They'll live in the gym. They just want to get better. All of them are like that. More film work, more this, more that. And you're like, wow. I've seen maybe, 3, 4, maybe 5 kids like that on the team, not 10, 11, 12, right, that they just crave it. And so from a chemistry standpoint, they generally are all like each other. They get along. Now, to build that family and that to go superficial beyond that, just, I know you, but I really don't know you. We're teammates. We're kind of friends. We do a lot of team building. That's another mistake I think that we didn't do last year, especially bringing in couple new faces into our family. You got to really, really focus on getting them uncomfortable early, hitting adversity early, and to see how they'll react, building bonds early. And so we do a lot of fun things together weekly. And then we do a lot of leadership things, whether it's working on our communication skills, working on identifying who we are as people. Like, what type of personality does A, B, and C and the coaches have? How do you like being talked to? All these things where you're analyzing and then we're learning about each other. That'll tell us how to communicate with each other.
Sure.
We just finished a ropes course that they teach at URI. They were unbelievable. The girls loved it, raved about it. Trusting your teammates, how you need team to excel. And then they'll do a personality test here. Our next leadership, we'll do media training. We did beach Olympics. We'll do a haunted house coming up here very soon with the team. They're doing some things weekly on their own, team building exercises together. We'll do a scavenger hunt improv. We have a corporation that's going to put one on. So these things that not just fun events that you spend time and get to know each other, but actually things that they teach you about each other and how to communicate and how to build and on and off the court. And I think that's really important. I don't think we did enough of it last year. And so again, having a budget now where you have money to be able to do all these things cost money. Yeah. So some programs, I feel very unfortunate. We got to fundraise to do a lot of this stuff. And thank God we have a budget that allows us to do the extra stuff that can form a championship team, because we need this, especially a team you put together as young as we are with all these new faces. So those are the areas that I'm trying to create chemistry. Hopefully we get clicking by December. This reminds me of my second year. We hit COVID. We went 0-4 in the preseason, and then we stopped playing. Yeah. Lost to Penn State at the buzzer. It was MP and Manu's first year playing, Joanna Musette. We knew we had talent, but they didn't know how to play together yet. They didn't trust each other yet. Very talented. But then, boy, after we went through that 3-week Christmas practicing, and they just clicked. And suddenly we came into the A10 and it was like, oh my God, who are these girls? And it went. And I remember beating VCU for the first time at home. We crushed them by like 28. And this team reminds me of that team where we know we have a lot of different pieces: 3-point shooting, big centers, great rebounders, a couple skilled players. Now the unknown is who's going to fall into the roles of what we need and how quickly can they, dominate the role, and then how well can they do it together? Those are the two questions. We have a lot of unknowns. We do. And I told the team today in our quote, I said, listen, it's okay to start a season with unknowns. We can't get to Christmas and still have those unknowns. And we definitely can't end the season with the same unknowns. We got to put some work in, not just on the court, but off the court. We got to figure out some things, and we got to form some family bonds very, very quickly. And so that's where we're doing things a lot differently than we did last year.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point there. You see good teams that start off slow, that, when, conference slate comes, they are dominating because they have that click. They have that, it hits them, really the chemistry starts flowing. And then you see teams that start off really hot and they prioritize that in the beginning, and they get a little carried away and they start to slip as conference slate comes around, and start to, digress. So it really is going to be interesting to see, how this team plays out. Obviously you look at the projections, you look at the preseason poll coming in at number 3, and that's exciting, but really it doesn't matter until the ball is tipped and the chemistry is there. And like you talked about, roles are starting to be filled and bonds are starting to be built, really. So I'm excited to see it. I know Rhode Island is excited to see what this program can do this season. And really, you bring up a lot of good points and a great approach of how you're planning on, working your way into developing some of these players in order to, get into the win column and win some of these big conference games at home. So it's going to be very interesting to see, and I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to be covering and broadcasting a lot of those games as well. So
I am.
a few more questions for you, just a few rapid fire questions to end it off here, and then one more question. Just the go-to beach. Where are you going?
Go-to beach?
Yep.
Right now, we go to Narragansett. I go to Narragansett.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends at Bonnet Shores, but I just like the public beach. I like Narragansett.
Yeah. Go-to restaurant in the area.
Anywhere on Main Street in East Greenwich. Anywhere.
Okay.
Ethos, Union in Maine. Where else did we just eat? Providence Oyster Bar on Post Road on just before. So anywhere in East Greenwich, Cellos on the water, Blue on the water, Harborside. I eat all of them. I love East Greenwich and I love Main Street. It's awesome.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that out.
And Newport, Bowen's 22.
Newport?
Bowen's 22.
Okay. I'll have to check that out as well. Nice cup of coffee in the winter or Dell's lemonade in the summer?
Nice cup of coffee every morning because I get up at like 5:30 and I have to start my day with a cup of coffee. I got to wake up smelling it like that Folgers commercial and my day's right. If I don't have a cup of coffee in the morning, no, not a happy camper.
That's where the energy comes from.
Yeah, like coffee in the morning, and then game days. About hour before I talk to the team, after I get my workout, I shower at the Ryan Center and I hit that sugar-free Red Bull hard. That's where I get all my energy during the game.
I love it. Last rapid fire question, then one more question to end it. Something that, Rhody fans may not know about you that you'd like to share.
I'm probably the biggest animal lover that you'll ever meet. And then when I retire, if I can have 100 dogs, I will.
Wow.
And then also, hold on, I'll be right back. I'll let you know my favorite holiday. 1 second.
Okay. Oh my God. I love it.
Come on now. I love Halloween. So obviously, you know what, I'm going to be scaring the kiddies. I just saw Halloween Ends. Yeah, I love Halloween and Christmas.
October is the best month. You got the fall, the foliage in Rhode Island, Halloween, World Series.
That's right.
Yankees making a push.
Sweater weather.
Sweater weather. Yep. It's the best month.
It's the best. Fall is the best. It is.
It is. It really is, especially in Rhode Island too. Last question for you, Coach. Just what is your message, to the fans or the supporters of the program who may be watching this interview at home?
Well, I always want to say, first of all, I got to thank them for the Day of Giving. We raised the most money in the history of the program. We beat last year. I think we raised 178,000, and then we won first prize on the women's division. So we get a bonus of like 7,500. But, that money enables our student athletes to have what I talked about, just a better experience from a resource standpoint. Charters, we get to charter with that money. But secondly, we get to go to a great MTE tournament next year. We're going to Vegas, and we'll get to play some great teams with high net rankings that won't play us in the normal regular season. So sure. I have Atlantis calling us for 2024. And, the fans, the donors, the alumni, the boosters, their support means everything to the girls. Having them in the stands, those last couple home games, and seeing the lower bowl of the Ryan Center packed.
Yeah.
As a player, and I watched my girls when they came out, it was like, normally after they're like, Coach, we couldn't hear a word you were saying. It was like, they didn't know what to do because I'm screaming, and they're like, give me a hand signal or something. They're like, It was incredible. And to go from our first season when there was like 8 people in the stands, to to having thousands in the stands, it
Right.
means something. And, I thank the fans for their loyal support. We have some unbelievable people who support our program. Monica Garn's probably one of the most famous alums, from a accomplishment standpoint, president of Fry Foods out in Arizona. She's built our locker room, both our bathroom and our locker room. We're going to be naming, in honor the locker room after her. We'll be doing the presentation next year. But, Charlie Topalian, he does all our charter flights for 5 years.
Wow.
The Ryans, the people that donated to the Sullivan, that donated to the practice facility. We're going to have an amazing state of the art. You should see what the recruits say when they come walking through there.
Yeah.
It's incredible, both men and women.
Yep.
So the resources that they've allowed us to have to build this, I thank them because they've built this.
Sure.
We don't get the recruits we get, just because we coach basketball. It takes resources, mental health standpoint, giving my girls the ability to get help when they need it, in real time, vitamins and all the different things that our wellness program has allowed us. These are the things that the fans, the alumni, the boosters, the donors, that they make this experience special for the student athlete. And in the end, that's all that matters. And I can't thank them enough. And I love having them a part of our program. I love it. We have open door policy. Everyone's allowed to every practice they want. I want them to get to know our team. I do. And
Yeah.
not so much me anymore, because you always hear me big mouth and talking and seeing me, but I really want to get my girls out in the public, being interviewed, get to know them. I think that they deserve that. And people really feel a part of something when you know the players. You're invested when you genuinely have a friendship with one of the players.
Sure.
It's a different feeling. And that's what makes the WNBA so special. They're accessible. When you come to a game, you can actually touch them. You can meet behind the scenes, and I would sign autographs till my hand bled, till the last one was signed. It's what makes women's basketball so great. We're very accessible, where a lot of times the men aren't. And so you want to come on the court and meet the team, you want to come in the locker room, call me up. You have kids that want to meet our players. Our players will be in the gym signing autographs till the last one leaves. And that's the least we can do for the URI, the Rhody people that have done so much for us.
Yeah, it's really so special what you're building and really what we're building here at URI. So Coach, thank you again, for taking the time tonight. Best of luck to you and the program this season. We're all rooting for you, and we hope this is the year. We think this will be the year. And of course, just go Rhody.
Thank you so much, Adam, for having me as always, and your coverage of us and your support of us. I love it. And anytime you want a player to come on, just let me know.
I will let you know.
And yes, go Rhody. Happy Halloween.